Well, today we are kicking off our series profiling the leaders of the parties running in the provincial election. We've put requests in with all of the leaders to be a guest on Blue Sky and to take questions from listeners. We plan to bring you those conversations over the next few weeks leading up to the provincial election. That election is set to conclude on October 28th, with 6 days of voting between October 22nd and the 28th. So today, we are going to be speaking to the Buffalo Party. And then in our second half of the show, we'll be speaking with the Saskatchewan United Party. So if you have questions for the leader of the Buffalo Party, get them in right now. You can call 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. Well, the Buffalo Party is relatively new on the Saskatchewan political landscape. It started after the 2019 federal election amid feelings of Western alienation and a sense that Western Canadian perspectives were being ignored at the federal level. So what began as Wexit Saskatchewan changed to the Buffalo Party in 2020. Phillip Zajac is leader of the Buffalo Party of Saskatchewan. He's a candidate for Estevan Big Muddy, and he is with me here in our Regina studio. Welcome to Blue Sky.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
Great to have you kick off our series here. I want to start with sort of that introduction that I just gave and the formation of the Buffalo Party. Just how strong still are those feelings of Western alienation within the Buffalo Party?
Well, we feel that the history of the Buffalo Party starts the whole tale. As we look historically about how the province came into effect in 1905, the original territory was the Northwest Territories, Alberta, and Saskatchewan would form Buffalo. Wilfrid Laurier at the time thought that this was too much of a block compared to what the East had in terms of representation, so they split the Buffalo province up. So when we originally, same after the federal election, there's a lot of sentiment in the province that, once again, as most everybody agrees, that by the time the election hits Manitoba, it's essentially over due to the populating numbers out of the East and the seats available. So there was a push for a movement and someone to kind of lead that group to get a better deal for the West. And that's kind of how Buffalo has evolved from Wexit. We looked at the makeup of the province, and we didn't want to have separatism as the primary focus of the party. And the members voted to change the name to Buffalo. So there's a lot of history in our name, and we're really proud of that.
So what is the party's stance then on separation? Is that no longer a priority, or how?
Well, the way that we have passed policy now of how that would look. Number one, the Buffalo Party is just looking for a better deal than what Quebec has with the federal government, and we'll do a really good job of negotiating that deal. What we have passed is policy, and our policies are written by our members. They're not written by myself or the board. We don't believe in top-down politics, so our members create the policy, and what they created for our procedures as we operate as a party is if the people of Saskatchewan decide at 70% plus one that they want to begin the referendum to move out of confederation, then we would do it because it's the people who would give that initiative to us. We would never start that on our own, and we would never force the people of Saskatchewan to make a decision like that because it's not up to us again. And that's what Buffalo is bringing back to politics is we serve our constituents. We don't dictate to them.
What do you think, though, it would best serve the people of Saskatchewan? You are the leader of this party, and even if it's not top-down, I am curious about your personal perspective. What would be best for Saskatchewan? Well,
the best thing is to stay in the confederation, right? That's an economic force, that we have in the province, and that's part of our job is to strengthen the ability of Saskatchewan businesses to excel in the world and to lead the world in different technologies and resource sales that we have available to us and make Saskatchewan the best place to live in Canada. That's our goal.
Are other parties saying that, though? I mean, what would make you, the Buffalo Party, distinct? Because I think most parties in Saskatchewan, most provincial parties, don't think that highly of Ottawa right now. And so what makes the Buffalo Party different in its approach?
Well, what we're going to do is we are going to negotiate a very good deal for the people of Saskatchewan. We also have passed policy that we won't recognize any of the United Nations 2030 agenda. We're the only party that has that in policy. And because what happens is they're an unelected, unaccountable agency in the world that the people of Saskatchewan never voted for. And so if they are going to try and pass policy, which I won't even call policy, but initiatives that detriment the people of Saskatchewan, we won't recognize them.
Maybe give me an example, because I was going through your website trying to get a better understanding of why that is a sticking point for the party.
So I'll relate it right to my Estevan community. The Paris Accord, ending coal production and use by 2030 is all part of the UN agenda. China is building 2 mega coal mines a year right now, and with no CCS operations on them and no effect from the United Nations, right? They're having zero effect on China because they're just doing what they want to do. Why should we ruin small town Saskatchewan, which we have several coal plants in the province? These have provided excellent, stable jobs for communities for years and years and years, decades. The only thing that the Paris Accord will do is hurt small town Saskatchewan. And with the CCS technology that we have right now, if you ever go to Estevan, and there's these images of black coal shooting out of the stacks, it's just white steam. They capture almost all of the output of CO2, of the carbon.
I just want to pause for a moment. We'll come back to that in a bit, and we'll talk more about what options you see that are available to industry in Saskatchewan to lower carbon emissions. But you mentioned that you're from Estevan.
Correct.
So I want to know a little bit more about you. So you in the line of work that you're in, tell us just a little bit about you.
Well, I have a broad work experience, and I think that I relate well to people, and I'm able to empathize with people in different situations and walks of life. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology, minor in political science. I have management experience. I managed Peterbilt, the truck dealership, and served the oil field in Estevan. I also ran New Holland in Estevan, so I understand farming. My first job was on a farm near Belcaris when I was 16. And those are the core values of what Estevan is made of. As a citizen in Estevan, I've coached high school football for 14 years, high school girls softball for 7 years. I was chairman of the board of the library for 6 years, and I've been a kinsman, and I believe in community service. And so when it came to giving something back to my community, I was approached by one of the nicest grandparents in the world, and they said, our town's in trouble, and we need some help. And so they had heard me speak about issues concerning Estevan, and how do you tell them no, right? So Estevan's the most giving community that I've ever lived in. The people are very generous and take care of each other. And we say this all the time. I live a mile out of town. I could blow a tire between town and my house, and 5 people will stop and ask me if I need a hand. My dad blew a tire on the ring road here in Regina. He's 83. He's got a cell phone, but he doesn't take it with him. And 10,000 cars will drive by, and maybe someone will stop, but not likely, right? And that's what we want to protect, is the small town mentality of caring about each other and taking care of each other.
Okay, I'll stop asking questions for a moment, and instead we'll let our listeners ask the questions, because we do have somebody on the line already. So Michael in Regina picked up the phone, and I'd like to welcome you to Blue Sky. Michael, hello.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I'm curious. Sounds like you don't believe in human-caused climate change. Is that correct?
In which, sir?
In human-caused climate change.
I believe that the climate has changed. If we look at small windows of time, the planet is warming up right now. If you look at the large picture of time of the Earth's existence, there has been times in the past where there has been no polar caps on Earth. And also, most scientists will agree that we will have another ice age in North America. We don't know when, but most will tell you that it is going to happen. So again, if we do small window viewing, yes, the planet is warming up. There are things that may be causing it to warm up. And again, we are planning on CCSing all of the power plants. We're the only party that has said we will do that, which will create very good jobs for everybody in the province, because they're construction jobs and then operational jobs after. And even the federal government has said that if the province CCSs all of our power plants, they don't care. We can let the coal power plants run.
Michael, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, just the studies on the CCS that have shown to be insignificant in their mitigation towards stopping CO2. You don't believe the science?
Well, the report that has recently been printed was written on numbers based when the facility was actually opened at the beginning, and it was not operating at its peak potential. And the CO2 capture that happens at our power plant right now in Estevan, we use that CO2 to grow plants. We have a beautiful greenhouse, and they pump the CO2 into the greenhouse, and they grow trees and plants. And we all understand that, in basic biology, CO2 is a necessary element for us to survive. And the more CO2 that is actually in the air, the more green the planet will be. So,
although I'm not sure that's the argument that climate scientists are making. I don't think anybody would disagree that CO2 does contribute in the way that you suggest. But just so that we are fully clear on what your stance is, do you believe that humans or that emissions are contributing to climate change?
At this point, they are.
Michael, do you have more questions?
No, I'll keep it at that. Okay, good luck.
Okay, well, I appreciate you calling.
Thanks, Michael.
That's Michael joining us in Regina. You can call us too, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. We've launched a series today on Blue Sky, and we're starting with the leader of the Buffalo Party. Phillip Zajac is our guest. He's a candidate for Estevan Big Muddy. And if you do have questions for him, give us a call, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. So the other thing I noticed on your website for the Buffalo Party, the roots of your party come, as you've stated, comes from this sense of Western alienation. But your website also lists this 2023 document titled the True North Declaration. Correct. So what is that? Like what is at the heart of that document?
Well, the True North document is a path for the future. We proudly post those. We're the first political party that were signers on it. It's created with a little bit of a background of confederation in the United States.
So you're the first political party to sign on to it, but who created the document?
It was created by a fella in BC, and I can't tell you the name of him right now.
A British Columbia resident.
Correct.
Yeah.
He's a thoughtful, intellectual person, and what that document does is we found out during COVID that our rights are not inalienable in Canada. The federal government can suspend Articles 1 and 33 at a moment's notice, and our freedom
maybe
to
just tell people what Articles 1 and 33.
Free speech and ability to travel, right?
So you're referring to lockdowns during
correct.
COVID,
right.
And that is something that your party has a policy on
correct.
that you would
never
institute lockdowns.
No, because being able to move freely within your country and be able to speak your mind are two of the founding principles of a democracy. And we see this frequently now in Canada, those rights are being eroded, and the ability to share information is being eroded. And in a true democracy, you have to let people be free. And just because someone might not agree with me or my politics doesn't mean that their opinion and voice shouldn't be heard equally as well as mine. And the Buffalo Party will ensure that that never happens in Saskatchewan. We will never lock people down. We will never close people's businesses.
What other ideas would you have to prevent a virus from spreading? If we were ever to face another public health emergency, what would be your approach?
Well, number one, we would never lock anybody down. We would never close businesses. I think fundamentally it's wrong to close a business because you have employees to pay, and you have mortgages to pay, and you have bills to pay. And when you force a business, then people have spent their whole lives building this, and now you tell them that they cannot operate. How are they going to pay their bills, right? And if it's a 6-month lockdown or a 3-month lockdown, how do you survive, right? There was no plan to take care of people when that happened. And then the other thing too, Buffalo has passed a policy called "No One Left Alone."
And what is that?
Seniors, people in care homes, people in medical facilities who were ill were not allowed to see family members. And having visits from your family when you're ill or when you're near the end of life is one of the most important things for mental health. So the Buffalo Party has passed this very compassionate policy that says no matter what the pandemic of the day is, if you have a family member that is in a hospital or in a care home, no one can stop you from visiting them in person.
I thought we had another caller, but I think we've got a candidate on the line, and we only have a few more minutes where we're focusing on the Buffalo Party.
No problem.
We'll pause for a second, this
Sure.
conversation I'm having with you, and instead let's go to Megan Christensen. So one of the candidates with the Buffalo Party for the Humboldt-Watrous area. Megan, welcome to Blue Sky.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I want to hear from you your perspective on well, I guess why the Buffalo Party is your party. Why did you want to run?
I'm running for a lot of the reasons that Phil had mentioned. Everything that had happened during the pandemic, my family had to make a lot of changes. I saw a lot of people going through that, and it just kind of spurred me to. I'm a social worker and counselor by trade, so I'm seeing a lot of people, suffering with mental health and other barriers out there. And I've always been interested in the larger picture, so this just kind of made sense to jump into this at this time.
What are you hearing from people in the Humboldt-Watrous constituency? What issues are people talking to you about?
They're just wanting change, and I think they need a lot of hope instilled with that. Tired of voting for the same old, and just parties not thinking outside the box for different options. I think we had a good run with Donna, but I just think it's time for some change.
Just remind us, a good run with Donna. Remind us.
Harpenauer, she's the
Donna Harpenauer. Okay.
Hard power.
Yeah. And so, okay.
Yeah.
And so you're suggesting that your party is the change that people are looking for.
Yes.
Pat, I'll ask you, actually, I'll put this email from Scott to you. Scott writes, what is their position on Saskatchewan's crown corporations? I'll put that to you, Phillip.
Sure. The crown corporations have been around for a long time. I know people always are wondering about privatization and what the parties plan to do with them. I think as long as they're run as a business and not as a cash cow, then I think the crown corporations serve a good business model for us.
Tell me more about what you mean by that.
Well, as long as they're operating ethically, they're operating transparently.
Are they not? Are they not right now?
They're not right now.
What makes you say that?
Because we've been filing freedom of information requests when things look unique or that there might be something wrong. We currently have several freedom of information requests that we filed with SaskPower. They've failed to provide us documents that we've requested for projects that are either underway or anticipated. And when you're using public funds, those documents should be made readily available to the public. There is rules for operational guidelines for all of the entities, crown corporations, of how they operate within the province. And we, as the public and as the Buffalo Party, would hope that they would operate within the rules that are set for them.
What other policies, Phillip Zajac, do you want people to know about? Because we don't have a ton of time left. And so what else about your party do you want people to know? Maybe talk about one specific item in your platform that you want to share with people.
I can zip a couple off real quick. Number one, we'll remove the carbon tax on everything.
Why? Because
it's detrimental to the population of Saskatchewan. It's not being spent in the way that it is. And if the increase comes in the spring that we're anticipating, we could lose within the hospital sector alone, just because of the taxation dollars that we won't be able to have to pay wages. We could lose over 2,000 jobs because we won't be able to pay those wages. So the carbon tax has got to stop, and it affects every single person in the province.
What else in your platform? Because that's something that the Sask Party has definitely talked about.
Yep. The other thing, too, in our platform is we are the only party that has a plan for job creation. We are going to start building infrastructure projects in small town Saskatchewan. We are going to increase...
Like what? What would be an example?
Oil upgraders. So you can build small oil upgraders right now, which is upgrade the oil. In Unger, Stoughton, Cardiff, Arcola, we can build all those plants there. They create good construction jobs and good operational jobs. We also are going to be building storage tanks like Enbridge has on the north end of Regina, but we're going to get with oil producers in the province and say, how much can you drill and how often? We're going to stabilize the oil market in Saskatchewan, and the revenues that we will get by increasing to 1 million barrels a day of drilling will make that industry a leader in the world. And what we're going to do is use a farm model. When a farmer brings in his crop. If grain's selling for $1 a bushel, he doesn't sell it. He puts it in a bin. If it goes to $13 a bushel, he sells it. We will do the exact same thing with oil. So it won't matter if oil goes to $20, when normally right now everybody stops drilling. People will just keep drilling, and we'll store it. When oil goes up, we will sell it. And it's a good job creation program.
We're almost out of time. I'm going to quickly just read these emails, and then we'll have to switch gears here. But Kevin writes, so Kevin writes, serious question. If this guy had a cough, would he cover his mouth with his hand or cough in someone's face? Do you think that you have an inalienable right to spread contagious viruses to others? Why should anyone vote for people making selfish decisions? I want to give you an opportunity to respond to that.
I would cough into my arm, which is being a responsible person. Okay. I think that we are all responsible members of society. We are all smart enough to understand cause and effect. And I think that the nanny state of where someone else has to tell us what to do and how to live shouldn't exist in this province.
How many candidates do you have?
Right now we have 17 that are completed and vetted. We have another 10, but the run is coming, right? So getting paperwork done, getting signatures done, it's a very time-consuming process. And so, again, we hope to have as many as possible. But whatever number we have, we'll have quality candidates who will represent their communities fairly.
Megan, I know you're still with us. At least I think you are. I just want to give you one last opportunity to share with people the most important policy or an item in the platform from the Buffalo Party that you want listeners to be aware of, other than sort of focusing on lockdown. But what else do you want people to know about the Buffalo Party?
The seniors policies. We started creating that in July, and that's something that I did bring to the party's attention. And I'm really excited for the changes that are going to come out, creating things specifically for seniors' health and for finances for seniors.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate the time that you've both given to us today. Thank you so much. Megan, thank you.
Can I have one more second?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We announced a new ministry. It'll be the Ministry of Seniors and Veterans Affairs.
Right.
And it will bring back SDC to the province. I've been traveling around, and seniors have been telling me that just to go to doctor's appointments, they've been having to pay $200 or more for a cab ride to go. They can't afford that.
So you're proposing that you would bring back the
STC,
the Saskatchewan Transportation Company, and funded by the provincial government.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Okay.
So good to have you today,
Thank
Phil.
you for your time.
That is Phil Zajac, leader of the Buffalo Party. He's also the candidate for Estevan Big Muddy.